looking at where we're at now, keeping that in mind, would you rate this season as underperformed, met expectations, or exceeded expectations? And of course, why?
Yeah, I think the expectation part is what I struggle with because I didn't have expectations. I think if you look at what was being said externally, the feeling is that we exceeded expectations. I think we were really happy with our commitment to focusing on the process. We were really happy with giving really good experience to the rookies and giving us a future, giving us a vision for the future. Now, we set out to do that. So we met our expectations as an organization in a stated goal. Those players, I don't want to say they exceeded our expectations because certainly, Diamond had high expectations as she came in here as a number 2 pick. I think someone like Dorka emerging for us and having such a big part of our identity probably exceeded our expectations in her case specifically. But as a team, I think what we're pleased about is that we maximized the group. I think we squeezed everything we could, despite some of the injuries, et cetera. I don't know that any of us can walk out of the locker room last night and feel disappointed other than that we didn't win the game. We did, everything we could possibly do to put ourselves in that position and the biggest thing is walk away feeling like that you did give everything you have. You walk out of there with your head high. That was something that we did every time we played.
And then looking at the progression throughout the season, are there any key moments that kind of stepped out where you say, this is where we're heading, the kind of met this milestone, let's work on this, on that growth trajectory?
Yeah, man, I just felt like there were so many moving targets for us, or like oftentimes I like to say like a ship with a hole in it, you plug a hole and then an injury leads to something else and you felt like you were on a path that you had to, kind of, change that path, veer off that path, and now focus on this. I think it was a season long of that, constantly adjusting to what the hand was that we were being dealt, other than obviously Phee and KMac. I loved the evolution of Phee and KMac as a duo. That was a huge story for us. And I can't sit here and tell you that we went into the season with a vision that, hey, we're going to make them this really special duo. They found their synergy, the trust that they had in each other. KMac talked a lot about in our exit interview is the creativity of their play and us just letting them, just do what you want to do. They called plays. They decided on their screening action what they were doing in the moment. And we enjoyed watching it, and we started doing things with them that other teams around the league started to do, because of the success that those two were having with the ways that they were screening for each other. And so I think that was probably one of my favorite parts of the season is the synergy that those two had.
So where do you see this team headed in the future? I mean, this is a good stepping stone to build on. You got a firm foundation now. What's next?
I think what we've established is a certain level of expectation now that maybe going into the season there wasn't very high expectation, again, externally. And so now those same people go, oh, wait, Nafisa Collier is a top 5 player in the league. Kayla McBride, had a really fine season for us. And the expectation is Diamond Miller is going to improve. Dorka Juhas is going to improve. We're going to get some healthy players back. And so now all of a sudden there's expectations. So in order to meet those expectations, there has to be improvement. There's got to be a player development component to this, that the off season for us is a successful one where players are committed to the areas that we need them to improve, and they just work tirelessly on that so that we can take the next step in this new era of Lynx basketball. And then adding to that, obviously an off season will bring, some change to the roster. That's always inevitable. Certainly, through the draft again, we'll be in a solid position, and we'll add hopefully another, good quality young player, to continue on the vision of the future. We're going to continue with a growth mindset. We're not going to suddenly reverse course on that. I think, again, the season that we had and the growth that we showed that we can be successful more than one way. And this path for this team and this franchise right now is growth-minded and continue to invest in player development in our younger players.
Coach, one of the things that you talked about offseason improvement. One of the things that I saw across the board or heard from the women is trying to finish through contact, kind of embrace the physical play. I think Diamond talked about it. Phee did, and so does Dorka. How do they continue to improve in that regard? And then is there an area where maybe you add a player who brings that physical side?
Yeah. I think it's twofold for the players. There's the actual basketball training. I think there's some technique things with Diamond and Dorka. Certainly with Phee, there's the basketball technique. But I think for all of them, there is the performance enhancement that comes with what you're doing to your body, your strength training in your core, your elevation, the ability to hold your ground, like things like that. So I think it's two-part. Right, it's the basketball technique, and then agility, strength training that we're going to be pretty mindful of with them. It's going to be hard as they go away overseas, and that's where we're really going to have to stay on top of things and make sure that they stay committed to that, because I think that's going to be a big part of it. I think in terms of the external part, I think that's a lot of times what maybe an organization or the expectation is to look outside. Who can you bring in? We're of the mindset that the players that we have internally is going to be where we're going to grow and improve. We'll certainly, like every team, we'll consider some things in free agency, but that's not where our mindset is, saying that there's going to be a magic pill there in free agency that suddenly we can be that. So we're going to continue with the players that we have, including, as good as Phee was, there's so much more than the Phee Collier can be, and that's awfully exciting.
Can you, now that we're putting the end to this season, looking ahead to the future, and you've been through this so many times, can you give us a little bit of enlightenment onto your draft preparation process? I mean, I'm not looking at players. Do you have any players that you come in and say, these are the ones we're already looking at, when the college season gets going? When do you guys really start drilling in and figuring that out?
Yeah, I mean, just through, like you said, through years of doing that, right? We've got, databases of data on, players when they enter college. Now it's their time, to be drafted. We certainly have a list of players that we expect that could be in the range where we're drafting. The difficulty obviously is, 6 teams ahead of us, whatever. But I think kind of honing in on some positional needs, and then certainly the strength of the draft overall, understanding that and how that can help shape our roster. All those things have been done. Now it's just a matter of scheduling and going to see players and see where they land in their senior year. And that's obviously, you always tend to like players a lot in their freshman, sophomore, junior. And then when it's time to draft them, you start to see the shortcomings. So I think that's I think for us, that's what we spend their senior year doing is, just watch a bunch of games. You go through the vetting process of who they are as teammates, as people. We all kind of go through that process. And so I don't want to say we're kind of at the end of the process for players, but it's the last step because you already know who the players are. It's just how does it shake out for them and our needs at the 7th spot.
And then how do you balance that with you personally being the head of USA Basketball?
USAB just has a couple of windows, and that's not really a factor in this at all. We have a November window and a February window, and that's not going to interfere remotely into anything draft prep wise.
I don't know how much you can get into the possibility of Kayla and Phee playing together overseas, but hypothetically, if you can, break the news again for us. What advantage are there to that? And obviously, you've talked about they've already developed this chemistry
Yeah.
as a 1-2 punch. I mean, it can only grow in the off season.
Yeah, and that's the advantage for any team that they would play for, right? That they how they feel about each other, they go about their business the same in terms of their belief in themselves, their consistency, their work ethic, and then they're just, I can't say enough about what Phee does for KMac. Just the joy that KMac played with this year, that just she just feels really, really connected. And so I think those two, we can continue to grow with that. But those two need help, right? They need help. And I think they felt that, throughout the season for sure. But they were just a really tremendous duo. And I just see that continuing to grow. And as Phee adds to her game, I think KMac, has we kind of break it down in 5-year segments of a career. She kind of enters I don't want to say the last 5 of her career, but she's 31. And, what's the final, phase for KMac's career? I think for her, it's taking care of the body in a way that allows her to continue to be athletic enough to get places, which I thought she came in great shape for us. Saw her move in ways that were really healthy for us, really, dictated the pace, and she played in pick and rolls so good. And so I think there's a little bit more we can do there in terms of, agility and training and getting to the basket. I thought she was really good there this year. I think that was another level to her scoring that was helpful. And then I just think that, defensively, I think the two of them have to, sort of lead us in that charge, because I think that's an area of improvement that has to happen if we want to be anything more than an average team. The defensive part of it has to grow, and those two are going to be a big part of that.
Can you talk to us about Lindsay Allen and Jess Shepard? They ended the season on the injured
Yeah.
list, and what we can expect to see from them, healthy or
Yeah, that hurt, obviously, stating the obvious, that Lindsay really settled into being a great leader for our team. She really settled into the role. I think it was different for her when she first got back in training camp. I think she struggled with the idea a little bit, not the idea, but the going from a reserve to a starter, what that feels like. And it's just very different. There's a lot greater pressure. And then so she kind of grew into the role and got really good for us. And I think another success story. That injury, can't say enough how painful that was, not only for her thumb, but for the team. And then someone like Tiffany Mitchell playing out of position for us, just kind of taking it for us and taking it like a champ. And but without LA and Jess Shepard, only played in half the games. Just a tough season for her. That was huge for us. I thought Jess is in a place in her career where she's really confident about what she brings to the table. And so, those two, that hurt. That hurt for sure. Yeah. Yeah, so, and I have to get an update after she kind of goes through all the physicals, et cetera. It's not a serious situation, just unfortunate in terms of the kind of location of what she was going through. She'll be playing overseas probably, pretty soon, not in the coming days or, a week or so, but she'll be overseas and playing in Italy and hopefully getting her rhythm back and kind of building for next season. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.